Hello and welcome to another episode of WMT Reviews. I am Wise Man Tanofsky, and it is time today, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce you to the one and only leader of the generation's Combaticons, Combaticon Onslaught. Now, Onslaught is the leader of the Combaticons. He is the tactical genius behind their endless battle schemes and strategies. He is an absolutely brutal military leader who leads through fear and respect among his fellow Combaticons and other Decepticons. Onslaught is, as you can see here, a Cybertronian armoured assault vehicle with heavy armour plating at the front. He's basically a battering ram on wheels. He can charge headfirst into the fray and throw countless Autobots aside, and hopefully they'll be on the floor in front of him rather than directly in front of him, because his mounted cannon points at the ground. And I've tried on a number of occasions to get it to straighten up, but that's what happens. So put Onslaught to one side. We have here his twin cannons. Now these are supposed to form part of Bruticus's sonic cannon, but I don't like using it for that, because then Bruticus loses his trademark shoulder cannons. So I just like to have these mounted on the back of Bruticus rather than being part of the gun, and I make a different gun out of the Combaticon weaponry. It's green. Hate the green. Don't like it at all. Whatever. Put it to one side. And here we have Onslaught. You see, he's afforded quite good rollability due to his heavily plastic wheels. His front wheels don't rotate as freely as his back wheels, due to the fact that it's just the rim of the wheel that spins, and the centre that stays solid, as this will be Bruticus's shoulders in time. Lovely Decepticon symbol on the front there. There's some very nice detail on this, and when it hasn't got the cannons on it, it doesn't look half bad when you ignore the giant Bruticus head, and the giant Bruticus pelvis, and the little Onslaught hands. Okay, it's quite an awful vehicle mode. It's quite terrible. It's this ridiculous H design. Everything's hanging out. Kind of like this. You can just clearly see there's a robot there. And that's the problem with the H design. You can just tell by looking underneath it that there's a robot there. Whatever, let's transform him and meet Onslaught himself. We fold away these arms here, get them out of the way. We can rotate these down to form Onslaught's shoulders. Pull him apart and flip these down. I've got to do it in the right order. There we go. Detach the system here, and you've got backwards head Bruticus. No, you don't. Flip it away. Obligatory head reveal. There we go. Fold those up like that, and rotate this Bruticus pelvis. There's a double joint in here, which you can use to rotate the Bruticus pelvis up and peg it in to the back of Onslaught's waist. Okay, pegged in nice and securely in there. Rotate down his arms so they're in the right place, and flip up his legs, and there you have Onslaught in his robot mode. Now at first glance, Onslaught's robot mode is rather intimidating and bulky, but when you take a moment to really look at it, you can see his feet they're not flat on the ground. His arms are a little bit ridiculous. They're down here, and they've only really got posability in the elbow. And there's this joint here, but it just looks weird. That looks weird. He has got Bruticus's victory flaps that pop up like that. They look silly on the Onslaught robot mode. But one thing that does look very silly on the Onslaught robot mode is the twin cannons. They're huge. And because of the posability in his arms, they're so limited what you can do. You can have him pointing forwards or up like this and hope people don't notice that his arms are double jointed. But there's not a tremendous amount you can do with it. I wish that there was a peg in the back, round here where Bruticus's head is tucked, whereby you could slot the cannons in here. Because to me, that's a more satisfying look for the robot mode. Just to have the cannons poking up over the top. Again, I wish they weren't green, but they are. And as such, Onslaught is one of the weakest links in terms of robot modes, because there's not really anything you can do with him. His arms are horrifically unposable. His gun looks silly. I mean, the colour scheme's good, don't get me wrong, I like the colour scheme. I almost like the colour scheme more than the boring grey that they've got on the Fall of Cybertron colour scheme. But it's not a very good figure. It's clearly been designed with the final Bruticus in mind rather than the individual Combaticon, which is rather sad, really, because this is the leader of the Combaticons. And I wish he had been, I don't know, either large Deluxe or small Voyager size, just to give him a bit more posability, because you've got the joint in the head here. Now, the shoulders do rotate, but that looks silly. So you've only got this little ball joint here, and this ratchet joint here. Again, no posability in the hands. The waist rotates a little bit, but it gets caught up on Bruticus's pelvis armour. There's a joint here in the waist that goes out. Doesn't go forwards and backwards because this figure has no forwards and backwards leg posability, and you'll see why when it comes to the combination. Now, the leg does rotate. There's a tiny, not even 45-degree bend in the knee, and no joints in the foot. It's not a good figure. I mean, there are power core combiners out there with a primary command unit that's got more posability than this guy. And as such, it's a very meh 5 on the Ausometer. Because, no, he doesn't really, fall down all that easy. He's very, very stable. These legs are terrible. You can't get any really dynamic poses out of him unless you think that doing the splits is dynamic for a military leader. It's the best you can get, really, unfortunately. So a 5 on the Ausometer for a very disappointing Generations Onslaught. I've been Wiseman Tanofsky, this has been WMT Reviews, and I will see you next time.